They want you to believe that protecting your own family makes you a criminal. Imagine waking up to find that the gold you bought with 40 years of sweat and the land your grandfather bled for are now considered contraband. This is the great contradiction of our time. Your legacy is on the line. One stroke of a pen in Washington could turn your life's work into a liability. If you stay, you lose everything. If you move, do you go to prison? The stakes have never been higher for your family's survival. I am not here to sell you fear. I am here to give you the truth. In a world of chaos, legal transparency is your only shield. This is Fiscal Folklore. We don't just survive the collapse, we master the escape. Is it illegal to move your wealth? Or is it the only way to save it? Today, we reveal the legal escape. We go beyond the border to the Swiss secret, a 100% legal firebreak that they cannot touch. It is time to choose sovereignty or submission. Most people think that if they just keep their heads down and say nothing, they will be safe. They believe that their silence is a shield. But in the eyes of a crumbling financial system, your silence is not a shield. It is a target. When the currency begins to rot and the debt mountain begins to slide, the first thing the system looks for is liquidity. They look for the gold tucked away in your safe. They look for the equity buried in your soil. They look for you. The trap of silence is the most dangerous trap of all. By doing nothing, you are making a choice. You are choosing to remain within the blast radius of a system that no longer respects your property rights. You are choosing to let your wealth sit in a jurisdiction that views your success as their resource. Every day you wait, the exit doors get a little smaller. The regulations get a little tighter. And the question, is it illegal, becomes the chain they use to keep you locked inside. Let us be very clear about the current landscape. We are not living in normal times. We are living through the Great Confiscation. It is not a sudden event like a thief in the night. It is a slow, methodical, legal process. It starts with reporting requirements. It moves to emergency taxes. It ends with the direct seizure of physical assets. We have seen this shadow before. In 1933, Executive Order 6102 turned honest American savers into outlaws overnight, just for holding gold. The history books tell you it was for the good of the nation. But the families who saw their generational wealth vanished know the truth. It was a transfer of power. And today, the stage is being set for an even larger transfer. This time, it is not just your gold. It is your land. It is your digital privacy. It is your ability to provide for the next generation. The system is hungry, and it has a very long memory. I hear the whispers in the community. I see the comments from people who are terrified. They ask, if I move my gold to a safer place, will the government come after me? If I seek a jurisdiction that respects my land deeds, am I breaking the law? This fear is by design. They want you to feel like a fugitive for exercising your basic right to survive. They want you to think that the only way to stay legal is to stay poor and vulnerable. But here is the secret they don't want you to know. The law is a tool, and like any tool, it can be used for your protection or your destruction. The world's elite have known this for centuries. They don't hide their money in the shadows. They place it behind legal firebreaks. They use international diversification not to break the law, but to use the law to their advantage. They understand that being a patriot does not mean being a victim. Your gold, your physical bars and coins, are the ultimate insurance policy. But an insurance policy is useless if it is sitting in the very house that is burning down. Your land, the dirt under your boots, is your final fortress. But a fortress can be sieged if its legal title is held by an authority that can cancel it with a single decree. This is the reality we face in 2026. We are entering the era of the legal escape. This is not about tax evasion. This is not about money laundering. This is about jurisdictional sovereignty. It is about moving your wealth from a place of high risk to a place of high trust. It is about understanding that the map of the world is changing, and your wealth needs a passport. In this 5-part series, we are going to dismantle the lies. We are going to show you that the most illegal thing you can do is to let your family's future be stolen because you were too afraid to act. We are going to explore the Swiss secret, a jurisdiction that has survived world wars, collapses, and confiscations for 700 years. But before we get to the solution, we must understand the depth of the trap. We must look at the invisible chains that are being wrapped around your property right now. We must understand why the old ways of hiding assets in a backyard or a local safe deposit box are no longer enough. The hunters have evolved. Their technology is global. Their reach is digital. To survive, you must be smarter than the system. You have worked for 40 years. You have paid your taxes. You have followed the rules. You deserve a legacy that lasts. You deserve a home that cannot be taken. You deserve the truth. The trap of silence is closing. But for those who listen, there is still a way out. Join me as we walk through the fire and find the legal bridge to safety. This is part 1 of the Great Confiscation. Stay sovereign, stay legal, and most importantly, stay awake. In our first chapter, we discussed the trap of silence. We talked about how doing nothing is the most dangerous choice you can make. But many of you, the smart ones, the planners, believe you have already moved beyond that trap. You have hired lawyers. You have set up domestic trusts. You have created limited liability companies to hold your land deeds and your gold bars. You feel safe behind your paper shields. But I am here to tell you that what you have built is a jurisdictional mirage. Imagine a fortress built entirely of high-quality paper. From a distance, it looks imposing. It looks secure. But when the fire starts, when the heat of a national financial emergency begins to rise, that paper does not protect you. It becomes the fuel that burns your legacy to the ground. In the United States, we are taught to trust the system of law. We are taught that a contract is a contract, and a deed is a deed. But there is a hidden clause in every domestic agreement, a clause written in invisible ink that the system only reveals during a crisis. That clause is called eminent domain, combined with emergency economic powers. When the system faces an existential threat, the rules of the game change overnight. Your domestic trust, no matter how complex, is still a creature of the same jurisdiction that is seeking your assets. If the entity that wrote the laws is the same entity that wants your gold, do you really believe that a piece of paper signed in a local law office will stop them? This is the illusion of safety. You are using a shield made by the very person who is swinging the sword. Let's look at the reality of modern banking and asset holding. In 2026, there is no such thing as private in the domestic system. Every transaction, every safe deposit box agreement, every LLC filing is indexed, tracked, and searchable by a single federal keystroke. The transparency that they claim is for national security is actually for asset mapping. They are not looking for criminals. They are looking for the remaining pockets of wealth that have not yet been absorbed by the debt cycle. Your land, which you believe is yours because you have a deed, is held in a system where the government is the ultimate landlord. Through property taxes, zoning laws, and emergency decrees, they can effectively cancel your ownership without ever stepping foot on your soil. They don't need to take your land physically to take it legally. They simply make it impossible for you to hold it. And your gold, the physical insurance you've kept in a local vault or a bank safe deposit box. Do you remember what happened during the bank holidays of the past? When the doors lock, they stay locked for you, but they stay open for the inspectors. A bank safe deposit box is not a private sanctuary. It is a government-controlled storage unit that you pay for. During the Great Confiscation, the first place they will look is the place you were told was the safest. The jurisdictional mirage works because it makes you feel proactive while keeping you within reach. It gives you the feeling of protection without the reality of distance. A true firebreak requires a gap. It requires a separation of authorities. If your gold is in a vault in Nevada and your land is in a trust in Wyoming, and the decree comes from Washington, D.C., there is no gap. The reach of the decree covers every inch of the 50 states. There is no distance. There is no escape. This is why the global elite, the families who have survived centuries of collapses, never rely on domestic structures alone. They understand that sovereignty is not found in a better lawyer. It is found in a better map. They place their assets in a jurisdiction that has a different set of interests, a different set of laws, and a history of saying no to foreign decrees. In America, we are seeing the slow tightening of the digital noose. Central bank digital currencies are not just a new way to pay. They are a new way to permit. If your assets are tied to a domestic digital identity, your ability to use that wealth can be switched off like a light bulb. Your paper trust cannot bypass a digital lockout. Your domestic LLC cannot argue with an algorithm that has flagged your assets for mandatory stabilization. I know this is hard to hear. You have spent thousands of dollars on these structures. You have been told by experts that you are protected. But ask yourself this: if the president signs an executive order tomorrow, similar to the one in 1933, but updated for the digital age, does your local lawyer have the power to stop the federal marshals from enforcing it? The answer is a cold, hard no. The Mirage is designed to keep you calm until it is too late. It is designed to keep your wealth within the blast radius, so that when the reset happens, your assets are already on the table to be redistributed. The only way to break the Mirage is to create a true jurisdictional firebreak. You need a place where the laws of the United States do not apply, but where the laws of a stable, sovereign, and respectful nation do. We are talking about the difference between hiding and diversifying. Hiding is what people do when they are afraid and have no plan. Diversifying is what masters do when they understand the landscape. Moving your gold and land deeds into a legal structure that sits in a jurisdiction like Switzerland is not about breaking the law. It is about choosing which law you want to live under. It is about moving your legacy from a place of confiscation risk to a place of custodial trust. In the next part of this series, we are going to look at the paradox of gold and land. We will explore why these two assets are the ultimate targets and how the system is preparing to seize them legally. But for now, I want you to look at your current protections. Look at your trusts. Look at your bank boxes. And ask yourself, is this a fortress? Or is it just a very expensive mirage? The time for illusions is over. The time for the master strategy is here. You have the gold. You have the land. Now, you need the escape. Stay sovereign. Stay legal. And remember, the most expensive thing you can own is a false sense of security. This is part 2 of the Great Confiscation. We are just beginning to see through the fog. We have looked at the trap of silence, and we have shattered the mirage of domestic protection. Now, we must face the most uncomfortable truth of all. The very assets you have chosen to protect your family, your physical gold and your ancestral land, are the exact reasons you have a target on your back. This is the great paradox of wealth preservation in 2026. In a system built on debt and digital illusions, physical reality is the enemy. Let us start with your gold. Why does the system hate gold? It is not because gold is old or useless. It is because gold is the only financial asset that is not someone else's liability. When you hold a gold bar in your hand, you are holding pure, sovereign energy. You don't need a bank to click a button for it to have value. You don't need a government to guarantee it. It simply is. And in a world where the government wants to track every cent you spend and control every breath you take, your gold represents a zone of freedom they cannot enter. This is why gold is a target. It is the ultimate off-ramp from their digital prison. During the Great Confiscation, the system doesn't just want your money, it wants to destroy your exit. They look at your gold and they see a threat to the dominance of their crumbling dollar. They see a resource that they can use to reback their own failing ledgers. The paradox is this: the more the dollar dies, the more valuable your gold becomes. And the more valuable your gold becomes, the more the system will justify taking it from you for the national interest. They will call it hoarding. They will call it economic sabotage. They will use the same language they used in 1933 to make you feel like the villain for simply being prepared. But land is different, isn't it? You can't hide land in a safe. You can't move it in a suitcase. Land is the ultimate anchor. It is the dirt you walk on, the ranch where your children play, the soil that grows your food. You believe that because you have a piece of paper called a deed, you own that land. But here is the paradox of property. In the eyes of the state, you are not the owner. You are a tenant with a temporary permit. If you doubt this, try not paying your property taxes for a few years. You will quickly find out who the real owner is. The property tax is nothing more than a lease payment to the government, but it goes deeper than that. In 2026, we are seeing the rise of environmental easements and emergency land management acts. These are legal backdoors that allow the system to restrict what you can do on your own land, or even who can stay on it, without ever officially taking it. They use the paradox against you. They know you love your land. They know you will do anything to keep it. So they make the cost of holding it higher and higher. They implement wealth taxes based on the unrealized value of your property. They track the carbon footprint of your farm. They turn your asset into a liability until the day you are forced to voluntarily sell it to a state-linked corporation for pennies on the dollar. This is the pincer movement of the Great Confiscation. On one side, they attack your liquidity by targeting gold. On the other side, they attack your stability by targeting land. They want you trapped between a currency that is worthless and assets that are illegal or too expensive to hold. I want you to think about the people who lost everything in previous collapses. They weren't all poor. Many were wealthy landowners and gold savers. Their mistake wasn't that they owned the wrong things. Their mistake was that they owned them in the wrong way. They held their gold where it could be reached. They held their land titles in a system that could cancel them with a single stroke of a pen. The system understands human psychology. They know that when things get bad, you will naturally move toward gold and land. So, they have pre-positioned the legal traps. They have already written the emergency banking acts. They have already mapped out the eminent domain zones. They are waiting for the moment of maximum chaos to activate the legal capture. So, is it illegal to hold these things? Today, no. But the law is being reshaped as we speak. They are building a narrative that physical ownership is anti-social. They want a world where you own nothing and you are happy, which really means you are dependent. The paradox is that by trying to be safe within the system, you have made yourself the most vulnerable. You have gathered all your eggs into a basket that the government owns. You have built your fortress on their sand. But there is a way to break the paradox. There is a way to hold gold so that it remains your sovereign energy, invisible to their reach, but 100% legal. There is a way to structure your land ownership so that your title is held behind a jurisdictional firebreak, making it a toxic asset for any government official who tries to seize it. The masters of wealth have never been afraid of owning things. They have only been afraid of owning them locally. They understand that in a global storm, you need a global anchor. You need to move from physical possession to jurisdictional control. In the next part of this series, we are going to talk about the bridge. We are going to explore the Swiss secret. We are going to look at the only place on Earth that has respected the sanctity of property and gold for 7 centuries. We will show you how to take the assets that have made you a target and turn them back into the shield they were meant to be. You have the gold. You have the land. Now, you must have the wisdom to move them before the trap snaps shut. The system is counting on your hesitation. They are counting on your belief that it can't happen here. But it is happening. And the only people who will survive with their legacy intact are those who saw the paradox and chose the escape. Stay sovereign, stay legal, and above all, stay one step ahead of the shadow. This is part 3 of the Great Confiscation. The path to the exit is now in sight. We have spent enough time in the shadows. We have looked at the pincer movement of the system, the trap of silence, and the mirage of domestic protection. By now, you understand that the ground you are standing on is shifting. You understand that your gold and your land, while precious, are currently sitting in a strike zone. But today, we talk about the light at the end of the tunnel. We talk about the bridge. Whenever I mention the Swiss secret, people immediately think of old movies and secret bank accounts in the dark. But the reality is much more powerful and much more boring, which is exactly what you want when your life's work is at stake. Switzerland is not a hiding place. It is a jurisdictional firebreak. It is a country that has built its entire identity, for over 700 years, on the sanctity of private property and the rule of law. While the rest of the world was burning itself down in wars and revolutions, Switzerland remained a fortress of stability. Why? Because they understand a truth that the modern system has forgotten, that a nation is only as strong as its respect for the individual's right to own what they have earned. So, is it illegal to move your gold to Switzerland? Is it illegal to hold your land deeds in a Swiss-structured legal entity? The answer, provided you follow the rules of transparency, is a resounding no. In fact, for the global elite, it is the most legal, most professional, and most responsible thing you can do for your family. The bridge to Switzerland is built on the concept of international diversification. It is not about tax evasion. Let me say that again. It is not about hiding from the IRS. A master knows that the best shield is a transparent one. You report your holdings. You pay your taxes. You follow every single rule in the book. By being 100% compliant, you take away the system's only weapon against you. You become untouchable because you have done everything right. The legal escape works by moving your assets out of the direct reach of local executive orders. Imagine you have a fire in your kitchen. If your most valuable possessions are in the same room, they burn. But if you have moved them to a separate building with a separate foundation and its own fire suppression system, they survive. Switzerland is that separate building. When you move your physical gold to a non-bank, high-security vault in the Swiss Alps, you are doing something profound. You are separating your wealth from the debt-based banking system. You are placing your insurance policy in a jurisdiction that has never, not once in 7 centuries, confiscated the gold of private citizens. Their laws are written to protect the storer, not the state. But what about the land? You cannot pick up your ranch in Texas or your farm in the Midwest and fly it to Zurich. But you can move its legal title. Through the bridge, you can place the ownership of your land into an international structure that is governed by Swiss custodial law. Why does this matter? Because if a domestic decree comes to seize your property, they are no longer dealing with a vulnerable individual in a local court. They are dealing with an international entity protected by a web of treaties and legal precedents that make seizure a diplomatic and legal nightmare. You make your land too expensive to take. You create a legal friction that buys you time, and in a crisis, time is the only currency that matters. The paradox of the legal escape is that by seeking distance, you gain security. By moving your legacy across the bridge, you are not leaving your country. You are protecting your family's future within it. You are ensuring that when the dust settles and the Great Confiscation has finished its work, you still have the resources to rebuild. I want you to feel the weight of this for a moment. Imagine the peace of mind, the deep, restorative sleep you will have, knowing that your gold is sitting in a vault that has survived world wars. Knowing that your land deeds are wrapped in a legal structure that is invisible to the whims of a politician's pen. This is not just financial strategy. This is an act of love for your children and your grandchildren. The bridge is open, but it is not for everyone. It is only for those who are willing to stop being victims of folklore and start becoming masters of their own destiny. It is for those who understand that in 2026, sovereignty is a choice. You have been told that you are trapped. You have been told that there is no way out. But the bridge is right here. It has always been here. The only thing standing between you and the legal escape is the fear that the system has planted in your mind. They want you to think it's too complicated. They want you to think it's only for billionaires. But they are wrong. In the final part of this series, we are going to walk you through the master strategy. We are going to show you exactly how to step onto the bridge. We will discuss the first moves you must make to secure your gold and your land deeds before the window of opportunity closes forever. The shadow is growing, but the bridge is stronger. It is time to move from the target zone to the safe zone. It is time to claim your sovereignty. This is part 4 of the Great Confiscation. We are moments away from the exit. Stay sovereign, stay legal, and I will see you at the finish line. We have walked through the fire together. We have unmasked the trap of silence, shattered the mirage of domestic protection, faced the paradox of your gold and land, and stood upon the bridge to Switzerland. Now, we reach the final destination, the moment where talk ends, and the master strategy begins. Many people ask me, is it too late? They look at the headlines in 2026 and they feel the walls closing in. But a master knows that the best time to build a firebreak was 10 years ago, and the second best time is right now, before the first spark hits your roof. Sovereignty is not a gift given by the state. It is a status you claim through your own wisdom and action. The master strategy for the legal escape is built on 3 pillars. These are the steps the elite have used for centuries to survive the rise and fall of empires. And today, I am handing these keys to you. The first pillar is total transparency. This is the part that surprises most people. They think the Swiss secret is about hiding in the shadows. It is exactly the opposite. In the modern world, shadows are where they find you. A master stays in the light. You report every ounce of gold. You disclose every legal structure. You pay every cent of tax you owe. By being 100% transparent, you take away the system's ability to call you a criminal. You remove their legal excuse to seize your assets. When you follow the rules to the letter, while placing your assets in a jurisdiction that respects your rights, you create a legal fortress that is built on truth. Transparency is not a weakness. It is your ultimate shield. It allows you to stand tall, stay legal, and remain sovereign. The second pillar is physical distance. Your gold belongs in a vault, but not just any vault. It belongs in a place where the local police, the local marshals, and the local politicians have no jurisdiction. When your physical bars are held in a private, non-bank facility in the Swiss Alps, you have created a physical gap that cannot be crossed by a domestic executive order. If the day comes when the Great Confiscation reaches its peak and the system demands all physical bullion be turned in, your gold is already beyond the reach of the net. It is sitting in a country that views gold as a sacred pillar of freedom, not as a resource to be plundered. You don't need to break the law to keep your gold. You simply need to move the gold to where the law actually protects it. The third pillar is jurisdictional firebreaking for your land. You cannot move your farm or your home, but you can change who the system has to talk to when they want to touch it. By placing your land deeds into a specialized international custodial structure, you change the legal DNA of your property. You move it from being a local asset to an internationally protected interest. This creates what we call legal friction. If a government agency wants to seize your land, they are no longer just fighting you in a local court they control. They are fighting an international legal entity governed by treaties and Swiss custodial standards. You make the process so complicated, so expensive, and so diplomatically sensitive that they look for easier targets elsewhere. You become the house that is too difficult to burn, so the fire moves on to the next one. I want you to imagine the feeling of the morning after. The day the news breaks that the system has activated the emergency seizure acts. You see the panic on the faces of your neighbors. You hear the stories of bank boxes being sealed and property deeds being frozen. But as you sit on your porch, looking out over your land, you feel a deep, quiet, and unshakable peace. You are not afraid. You are not a fugitive. You have done everything by the book. Your gold is safe in a mountain fortress. Your land is protected by a jurisdictional firebreak. You have successfully executed the legal escape. In that moment, you will realize that the cost of the strategy was nothing compared to the price of your family's freedom. This is the pleasure we talk about at Fiscal Folklore. It is the pleasure of being a free man in an unfree world. It is the joy of knowing that your children's inheritance is secure, that your grandfather's land is still yours, and that your life's work has been saved from the jaws of the debt monster. But I must warn you, the bridge is not a permanent fixture. In every historical cycle, there is a window of opportunity, a time when the doors are still open and the paths are still clear. We are in that window right now, but the light is fading. The system is moving faster than ever before to close the exits. They are implementing digital tracking, changing reporting laws, and building the narrative to trap you. The master strategy requires courage. It requires you to stop listening to the folklore of the masses, who believe that everything will be fine, and start listening to the wisdom of history. It requires you to act while you still have the power to move. You have watched this 5-part series because you know something is wrong. You feel it in the air. You see it in the eyes of the people in power. You have the gold. You have the land. And now, you have the map. The only question remains, will you walk the path? I have given you the truth about the great confiscation. I have revealed the Swiss secret. I have shown you the legal escape. My name is Arnold, and my mission is to ensure that your legacy does not become a casualty of the reset. Subscribe to Fiscal Folklore now. Join our community of sovereign thinkers. Do not wait for the emergency to become your reality. Act now, secure your bridge, and protect your future. The time for talk is over. The era of sovereignty has begun. Stay sovereign, stay legal, and above all, stay free. This concludes the series on the Great Confiscation. Your legacy depends on what you do next.